Today we're creating a D&D Tavern map with a slight twist. Instead of doing many of the standard bar building practices I usually employ, I wanted to actively create something a little different, both in regards to style and in-game utility, resulting in a floor-seating apple cider bar. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so let's wind back to the start and see my initial thoughts on the process. Usually our taverns have a lot of seats and have sort of bars and things like that, but this might even be like less tavern and more tea shop, more sitting on the ground, smaller tables, like maybe that's the play. Whether that's still a tavern or, like I said, a tea shop, I think we can kind of figure that out as we go, and we can maybe make a little combo of the two. While this tea shop idea would change, we'd very much keep this interior design choice in mind. But before we could get there, we'd be required to do the somewhat tedious placing of walls. One of the things about making maps is like you always sort of have to start with walls because, you know, obviously it's like very hard to just like dive into an interior, but walls are like quite finicky, and it's like usually I'm just sort of like excited to do the interior and excited to do some of that design, and I just have to spend like 15-20 minutes just making sure all the walls are correct, and you know, really spending my time doing that. And it's like, oh, okay, is this how we're getting down right at the start as always? It's like, yep. With the walls complete in only a crisp 10 minutes, we'd turn our attention to the tavern's layout. I guess, like, how do we want to set out this room? Like, how do we want to, like, do we want this to really even have different sections? And I'm kind of like leaning towards no, I think is probably where I'm at with it. It's just going to have it like as one big sort of room area. To help us visualize the space and figure out what sort of interior design choice we'd go with, we'd paint some placeholder tables and chairs on the map. I decided to go with a simple 6 tables, 3 on either side of the room. Each table is only for a maximum 2 people, which sit across from each other. The entrance has a maitre d' stand, and the end of the room has the actual bar. As we went and placed the actual items on the map, it became clear very quickly that the scale of this place meant that we weren't able to place a lot of items, and the items that did exist were rather close together. So I became pretty dedicated to making this place intentionally a lot more compact than I usually do. I think we could also definitely very much have some stools that like go here. Yeah. The bar should definitely be layered with stools. I think we want to make this place feel quite tight. Maybe not like super excessively tight or anything, but you know, I think it should be packed in. I guess like I'm very much imagining it as like those sort of tight Japanese restaurant sort of places, and you know, I think that's what the inspiration's going to be, and I think that's what the exhibition of it's going to be. So yeah. When making maps, I like to push myself to attempt new things, and styling this place to have cushions on the floor and be more compressed is something I've never tried. While this means I sometimes get a little lost in the creation process or the idea, which is true for this map, or the map isn't the best thing I've done, it does mean I have a wider variety of maps available to me. It makes me gain new map making skills, and sometimes the challenge actually does make me create some of my best work. I wouldn't say that last point applies to this map per se, but this did push me to be more creative both with the design but also the rationale of what this place actually is. Let's maybe stick to like the kitchen. So what is this place going to be specifically? And I think the answer is like maybe it does a little bit of food, maybe it does a little bit of like nibbles, but I very much like the idea of this being sort of like a small drinking den type situation. Maybe it's like during the day it's a tea shop, at night it's a tavern. This creativity would also be pushed further by what's available in Incarnate itself, and we can see this when I finally clue into the fact that there were new tavern stamps available. Well, they've added a bunch of stuff to Tavern. Let's actually check out what the stuff they've added to Tavern is. Oh, Tavern curtains. Shelves. Oh, there's a bunch of cool stuff here. I do want to chuck them on the map though. If they are fresh and new, let's give them a ride. Even though these didn't fit perfectly with the style I was using, I would attempt to weave these in where I could, because if they're new, why not give them a go? More than just the new stamps, I would also look through for fun stamps that I could add to this map just to give it more spice. Also, I would love to get a cat on the map, so I'm going to drop that immediately. I think this was like a bit more of a cat cafe sort of vibe. Ooh, that could be interesting. Yeah, let's maybe drop some cats on the map. Great. I love this one with their little playful belly. They're gonna go there. And let's get a cat on the bar. All right, like that. That's very cat energy. While this is primarily a drinks bar, I think the map needed a little extra something. And so, to fit in with the narrative but also make it pop, I decided we could have some small food items that the patrons could munch on. After trying grapes, apples would come to the foreground. Does apples make more sense? You know what? I think what we can actually do is instead of doing these baskets of grapes, I think what we could do is have it be apples. And this is actually like a very specific cider shop. So they eat the apples that are like from the cider. Yeah, let's do it like that. While continuing to push myself, I would mess around with the map's lighting, a process which stumbled me onto something I really liked. Messing around with the lighting, it's something I barely ever do because I always find it just, I don't know. I just find it hard, I guess. I've done it a couple times. Do I want to do it like this? No. Oh, actually, maybe. I don't mind the saturation. Is that what it was just before? Is this what I was looking at before? That's actually crazy. The saturation's kind of slapping. Let's bring it up. Yeah, let's, I guess, saturate it a little bit. Maybe I should saturate a lot more of my maps. Like, it's crazy that's like, yeah, you could just have it popping like that. And this looks so dull in hindsight. It's like, how was this what it was before? That's actually blowing my mind. Because it's like, I never thought of it as like dull, but now that I've saturated, it's like, whoa, it looks so much more vibrant and good. Okay, great. So love that saturation, good decision. The saturation is a lot, and I don't think it's needed for every map at all, but I like the way it really just made this place a ton more vibrant, shockingly. Which, to me, fits the vibe, as this cat cafe / cider shop should be fun and have a vibrant energy. So the high saturation emits visually what I narratively desired for the place, which is great. With the inside mostly complete, we'd move to the 2 outside porches, where I'd also make a realization about what the map logically should look like. This area needs to be slightly lower than this area. Because it's like, that's raised. So at some point it went up. Okay, how can I do that? After trying to make this work for a bit, there weren't any clear, easy, fast fixes. Any possible solution would likely be too much work, so I just decided against it. So I do think it actually goes up, but I don't think we need to like show that anywhere. Maybe I could have planned around that a little bit more. I haven't. And I think it's one of those times where it's like, it's not really worth me like going back and changing anything. I can just sort of be like, oh, well, on this map, it's not going to have that, you know, especially because this is supposed to be like a pretty fast build. I definitely want to get this done in sub 1 hour. We're about 50 minutes at the moment, so probably going to go for another 10 minutes. And I think that's sometimes like useful to like recognize in yourself. It's like, okay, what is this map? Like, what is it meant to be? Is it meant to be like something you really painstake over and make like perfect? And you're like, this is one of the maps I'm super proud of. Or is it something you just sort of have fun? You try some new stuff and you just sort of like let it be what it is. And you give yourself sort of a time limit as far as work frame. And that's definitely what this is. It's like, let's go for an hour. Let's make a fun tavern. Let's, you know, try some different things, add some stuff. But at the end of the day, let's not like break our backs trying to make it perfect. Let's just allow it to be what it is. With this in mind, I quickly finished up the balcony, placing some cats around to give the outside a bit more life. Then I went through and gave the inspiration stamp its own section and name. And with this, the map was complete. Yeah, I guess we're just going to keep it as this. And great. I mean, yeah, it's quite simple. It's quite clean. It has a little bit of narrative in that it's like, oh, okay, it has cider and then there's like apples as well, which people can eat. And we also added a bunch of cats that sort of just lounge around and are doing their thing. It has a different design, you know, people sit on the ground and then there is a bar here, but it's mostly sort of a cushioned ground sitting place. And that's it. Like, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. This is very much a map where it's like, yeah, I sort of sat down and I made it and it's done. Feels good. Is there more we could add? Yeah, probably. You know, could we really like start to flesh out the details and get into it? Like, yeah, I think so, but I don't think it needs it. I think it's totally fine to just sort of leave it at the state it's at. And it took a bit under an hour, which is perfect. It's the amount of time I wanted to spend. So bada beam, bada boom. And that's the video. This was a fun, simple map to make that I'm really happy with how it turned out. If you want access to this map or any map I've made, they're available on the Patreon. Subscribe to the channel for more D&D asset creation. Thanks for watching. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye.